welcome to this very special coverage of the monsoon forecast for fiscal year FY17. Today, the Indian Met Department will make a formal announcement on the onset date of the monsoon over Kerala. Remember, the Met Department has already predicted the monsoon for FY17 at 106% of the long period average, which is a welcome relief after 2 consecutive years of a drought situation. But today, we will get to know exactly what the date is as far as the onset of the monsoon over the Kerala region. We have with us DS Pai, the director of the India Met Department, who joins in. Mr. Pai, thank you for joining us on the show. We are getting the press release on the onset of the date over Kerala. Can you just start off by taking us through that? Because at this point in time, everyone is eager to know when the monsoon will hit the Kerala region.
See, normal date of monsoon onset over Andaman Sea. The South Andaman Sea is 15th May and the North Andaman Sea is 20th May. And we have been observing a lot of clouding and increased convective activity and rainfall activity across the equatorial Indian Ocean. And we are expecting that in the next 2 or 3 days, there will be a formation of a low pressure system which is likely to concentrate into a depression during the next 2 to 3 days. And that can cause or help monsoon to set over Andaman Sea close to its normal date. And by 17, we are expecting monsoon to set over South Andaman Sea around 17. And by around 20th May, it's set over North Andaman Sea. However, we are expecting a slight delay over the monsoon onset over Kerala. As per our model forecast, statistical model forecast which we use for operational forecasting, the monsoon is likely to set over Kerala on 7th June against its normal date of onset of 1st June. So there is a bit delay we are expecting.
Okay, so as against the normal date of 1st June, you are expecting a bit of delay in the Kerala region. So you're saying that the monsoon will set in the Kerala region on the 7th of June, correct? Any more details on what the other geographies could see in terms of a timeline? Because, you know, the drought-hit areas of Marathwada, of other central parts of India are really awaiting the date so far. So can you give us more details on how the progression will be from the south up northwards?
See, actually since over Maharashtra and all, normal date is between 8th to 15th June, and since we are expecting now a delay over monsoon onset over Kerala, naturally there will be slight delay over in this central part also. However, the exact date we will be able to provide only in the short range or medium range scale once monsoon sets over Kerala.
All right. You know, if you can just tell us that does the early onset of the monsoon indicate that the monsoon rains will be good this year? I mean, I know you've already given us a forecast of 106% of long period average. How confident would you be of that forecast now that you have a little more details on what the exact dates could be?
See, there is actually no relationship between onset over Kerala or Andaman and the quantity of rainfall that we are expecting in the all India. However, since as we are expecting, our models are indicating that a La Nina is likely in the later part of the monsoon season, we are still expecting that the monsoon rainfall over India for the entire season, June to September, will be around 106%, as we predicted in April.
All right.
So it still holds good.
Okay, so you stick to your forecast of the 106% of long period average, which holds good for now. You know, let me just ask you a little more in terms of geographic distribution. You did mention that the biggest belt of concern is, you know, some of these drought-hit areas of Latur, Vidarbha, etc. In central and in the western region, any kind of indication on what the progression could look like over the next few weeks?
See, actually, once it reaches over Kerala, so thereafter, depending on the synoptic conditions only, we will be as of now able to tell progress of the monsoon. However, if we go by regional distribution, Since we are expecting a good monsoon type of situation, we are expecting above normal rainfall over central and northwest India. And however, generally in a good monsoon year, you will see below normal rainfall over northeastern parts and eastern parts, some areas, and also in the southeastern parts of the peninsula. So as a whole, we should expect a good rainfall activity. The region which you mentioned about the currently deficient monsoon region and drought region like Latur, etc. We are expecting Maharashtra and neighboring areas rainfall to be normal to above normal. However, we will come up with an exact regional forecast in the first week of June during our update forecast of rainfall.
Okay, so expecting a normal to above normal monsoon in some of these drought hit areas like Maharashtra and in the central and northwest India. That's always good to hear. Mr. Pai, you know, in 2014 and 2015, the monsoon was weak because of a very strong El Nino, causing 2 years of drought, as we all know. Since we spoke last, are you getting any more signs of El Nino subsiding? And what are you picking up on that front?
See, we have been seeing that after peaking of El Nino around last part of December, El Nino has been declining regularly, and as of now it is in the weak level, and we are expecting by next 1 month or so it to reach into neutral condition, and then by later part of the monsoon season, even there is a good possibility, many models are indicating good possibility for La Nina to evolve in the later part of the monsoon or thereafter.
Okay, so over the next 1 month, you're expecting the El Nino to reach neutral conditions. You were telling us about the forecast as far as central and western India is concerned. What should we expect as far as high temperatures go across various parts of India, Mr. Pai? Because as we speak, there's so many parts of India that are getting hit with immense heat waves. I mean, currently Gujarat is sitting at temperatures of more than 44 degrees Celsius. What are you understanding as far as these heat waves go and how they could subside, and what the impact will be on the eventual quantum of the monsoons?
Actually, you remember we had issued a forecast for the temperature and heat wave in the month of March, last part of the March, and we had predicted that during the period which is the hot weather season, April to June, there will be above normal temperature, maximum temperatures over northwest India and central India, and we also had predicted possibility of heat wave conditions over this region, particularly central and northwest India. Last 10 days or so, because of the increased rainfall activity in the peninsula and some activity also in the northern part because of the western disturbance, there was some decrease of heat wave conditions. But once those rainfall activity has subsided, heat wave conditions has reappeared, and we are expecting next few days these temperatures to increase further over central and northwest India, and these heat wave conditions to persist over this region. And till the monsoon reaches over this region, we have seen that in earlier years also, only when monsoon reaches or the moisture reaches into this region, the temperature decreases. Otherwise, mostly except for occasional decrease in the temperature, there will be increased heat wave conditions over this part. But however, this may not have much impact on the monsoon rainfall, except that till monsoon comes, there can be heat wave conditions over this area.
Okay. You were just telling us how there will be a slight delay in the monsoon over the Kerala region. So as opposed to 1st June that was earlier expected, now we could expect the monsoons around the 7th of June. Is it also safe to assume that because of that there could be a delay in the monsoon's onset over other regions as well, like central and western India?
There is generally no relation between monsoon onset over Kerala and that central India. Many times it has happened that after reaching Kerala, it progresses very fast, and sometimes the monsoon reaches early over Kerala and then it gets delayed in the central India. So as of now, we cannot actually relate this thing, but we expect that once it reaches to Kerala, by its normal date, the monsoon should cover most of parts of the country.
Okay. You were telling us also about how Central and North India will get either normal or above normal monsoon this time around. What about the other regions? What is the expectation over there?
See, as I said, we will have an exact forecast in the first week of June. However, some of our experimental dynamical forecasts are indicating that, except some regions of northeastern parts and southeastern parts of peninsula, where we are expecting slightly below normal rainfall, but otherwise most parts of the country is likely to receive normal to above normal rainfall. So mostly it should be a good monsoon type of situation, distribution of rainfall also.
All right, Mr. Pai, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us more details on the dates and what the geographical distribution could be. So, ladies and gentlemen, some more positive news coming in that for the Kerala region, the monsoons will come in on the 7th of June. Of course, there's a slight bit of a delay. There was an expectation that it could come in on the 1st of June, but there will be a slight delay. But that doesn't mean that there will be a delay in the other parts. As Mr. Pai was telling us, both in the central and the western region, where we have a high amount of, the drought situation hitting major parts there is expectation of an above monsoon situation in central and western India. So that's always good to hear, good for the markets, good for the economy. After 2 years of a drought situation, this is what we all want to hear. But let's do one thing, let's take a break on that note. When we come back, we will discuss the impact of the monsoon estimates with our market and our economists, experts. Amrish Baliga on the market side and Aditi Nayyar from ICRA will talk about the economic impact of what the Met Department had to say. Stay with us. Hello and welcome back to our special coverage of the monsoon situation in FY17. We just heard from the Indian Met Department that the normal monsoon over the Kerala region is on the 1st of June, but this time around they are expecting the monsoons to set in Kerala on the 7th of June. So there could be a slight amount of delay as far as the monsoon situation is concerned. However, they are still expecting above normal monsoons in the central and the western region, and they stick to their forecast, which is a long period average of 106%, which is a good monsoons after 2 years of a drought situation. Some more details that the Met Department did give us in our conversation with them in a couple of minutes ago is that the temperatures will increase further in the central and northwest India over the next few weeks. So we could be in for a big heat wave across this region over the next few weeks as well. But what will the market impact be? Amrish Baliga joins in now to tell us more. Amrish, all we got from the Met Department today was a date, and they did mention that over the Kerala region, the monsoons will set on the 7th of June versus an expectation of 1st of June earlier. How do you think the markets will react to this?
No, I think, a week doesn't make much of a difference. So I think the markets would anyway, react positively. But then we should remember that the markets had reacted positively to this news much earlier. When they had given their first sort of expectations. So I don't think this news will have much of a difference. I think what is now, weighing on the markets is more of the Mauritius issue and possibly the P notes going ahead. So for the next, 2 to 3 weeks, I think the markets would be range bound. But once we have the monsoons actually hitting our coast, I think that is the time you will have the markets possibly crossing 8,000 plus levels. But till then, I think it should be like range bound.
All right, so expect the markets to be range-bound until we get more details and until the monsoon exactly hits the coast of Kerala. For now, this date will not make much of a difference. But stay on, Ambrish. We also have an economist who joins in. Aditi Nair of ICRA is with us. Aditi, what's the sense you're getting? So far, we've had huge heat waves across many regions. The drought-hit areas of Marathwada and Latur are reeling under so much pressure. Will this delay of 1 week in the monsoons over Kerala matter a lot?
Thanks, Sonia. When we got the first forecast from the IMD, this is broadly the sense that we did get, that although it was going to be an above normal monsoon, the rainfall was really going to be surplus in the second half of the season, and perhaps it wasn't going to be very plentiful in the first half. And at least the fact that the onset is delayed by a week plus minus 4 days, that does sort of corroborate what was expected earlier. And also, the indication that the IMD has now given that the La Nina will strengthen only in the second half of the season, which is also something that they had hinted at earlier. So I think, it's not going to necessarily be the best distribution of rainfall as of now, is the sense that I'm getting. Of course, it is possible that the delayed onset may be followed by a very quick progress over the country, and that's really what we're hoping for, that this extreme heat wave and dryness is, really suffused very quickly. As of now, it would seem to me that in terms of food prices or food inflation, certainly in the short term, the very short term, the pain is perhaps going to continue. And only towards the end of June or, once we get into July, would we start seeing some easing in terms of prices of perishables and items like that.
Okay. Yes, that's true. Actually, when we spoke to the IMD as well, Mr. Pai indicated that the delayed onset over Kerala does not mean that, there will be a delayed onset over other parts like central and western region. That could, might as well progress on time as well. They'll only get to know by the first week of June. But Ambrish, on the markets itself, the whole monsoon-related stocks have been surging over the last fortnight or so, whether it's some of these agri-based companies, tractor makers like M&M, Escorts, etc. Is this still a theme that one can continue playing? And if yes, what would your top ideas be just to play this whole monsoon theme?
I think this monsoon theme will continue for the next couple of months, because now they have moved up on expectations of a good monsoon. So once we actually see in black and white that the monsoon is good, I think the rally in these stocks will continue. And in fact, I stick to my earlier recommendations, which ranges from rallies to gen irrigation, to VST tillers, Syntex, Greaves Cotton, and companies like those.
Okay, so gen irrigation, VST tillers, Greaves Cotton, most of these companies have been doing extremely well over the last couple of weeks. Aditi, I just wanted your thoughts on the food prices itself. I heard you fleetingly mention the impact it would have, but even in this month's inflation ticker, we did see higher food prices. If we do see the delay that the IMD is forecasting, what kind of impact do you think it would have on inflation in next month's print, and on food prices, what is your own expectation?
So I think particularly for the prices of perishables, the trend that we've seen in April and which we've started to see in the first half of May is possibly going to now continue for at least another month. I mean, even if the onset comes in by the 7th in Kerala, it would at least take another week, I would imagine, for a substantial part of the country to be covered. which is what the normal date would be, that by 15th of June, a substantial portion of the country would be covered. So given that, at least I would imagine that for the next 1 month, we would continue to have this kind of an uptick in prices of perishables. And at least within the CPI, they do form a substantial portion. There are other items within the food basket that are also seeing price pressures, like pulses, oilseeds and sugar. And if those trends continue as well, or at least, if they don't start to subside, then I think food inflation would remain high in the interim period. Of course, there is a little bit of a positive base effect for next month, so we may not see a further substantial hardening in the headline inflation number itself, unless there is a very, very substantial spike in the food inflation number. So I would expect it to remain above 5%, somewhere in the range of 5 to 5.5% as far as the CPI number is concerned for next month.
All right, Aditi, thanks for joining us and giving us your quick take. So food inflation will continue to be at elevated levels up until the monsoons hit the coast of Kerala. But Ambrish, just wanted to end the show with the final note from your end. You know, the market has become so sensitive when it comes to the monsoon situation. I understand that most of it is already priced in, etc. But if there is a delay, as per what the IMD is suggesting, do you think that could impact market sentiment negatively in any way, or is the market prepared for such a situation?
No, like I said, about a week or 10 days this way, that way should not be much of an issue for the markets. But then in case we see that this gets delayed further and it goes on to possibly June 15th or June 20th, then yes, I think the markets could react negatively to that, because the expectation has been built up for the last month and a half. So, I think it's quite important that we see the monsoon hitting the coast at least by June 7th or latest by 10th.
Okay, so how does a retail investor approach this market now, Ambarish, over the next fortnight as we get more details on the monsoon situation? Is this still a buy on dips market?
Absolutely, because it's the economy stocks which will start performing. Once we have a good monsoon, and like I said on your show a couple of days back, that there are basically two ingredients for the Indian markets. One is the government, which has started delivering in the past couple of months, and the second most important thing is monsoon. So if that is normal, it hits more or less on time, I think we are in for a long-term bull market from here on.
Okay, on that very optimistic note, we'll let you go, Ambarish. You enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thanks so much for joining us. So that is the word coming in from both the markets and the economists, telling us that this is, of course, positive news. A 1 week delay here and there will not make much of a difference. For now, the market is in a bull market, and the expectation is that that could continue. Of course, food inflation will continue to be on the elevated level, and that's something that we will have to monitor. On that note, we'll take your leave. Enjoy the weekend. Thanks for tuning in.